Do these plays that we see have a ghost of a chance to succeed? Well, let's start out with Ghosts, a play by Henrik Ibsen featuring a new version by Marco Rowe, directed by Jack O'Brien. Lily Rabe is the head of the household since her rather dreadful husband died, but she's putting together an orphanage in his name because she wants everyone to think he was wonderful, even though he wasn't. And she's all excited because her son is returning from Paris, where he's an artist, and played by Levin Hawke. And then the maid, she has a crush on this son and has visions of glory with this son. Meanwhile, her father, this reprobate sailor, comes in and wants her to work for him for a home he wants to build for sailors who are retired. And then there's this nasty, evil preacher who's so moral and interfering in everyone's life and ruins everyone's life with his stupid morality, played by Billy Crudup. And this was beautifully done. And I want to give a shout out to Daniel Swee for doing an amazing job of casting. And the son is carrying a deadly secret inherited by his father. And there's all this. This was written in the late 1800s, full of really incredible subject matter that is shocking. And this was beautifully done. Happy face. And I was lucky enough to catch up with Billy Crudup at the Vineyard Gala, and he told me about he was working on Ghost next. So let's hear what he has to say about this unpleasant character.
Hello, hello. Here we are with Billy Crudup. So you were honored, I think, last year or the year before, and now it's Joe Morton's turn. Are you excited?
Well, Joe Morton is an institution. He is such a phenomenal actor. I had the privilege of working with him in the park on Measure for Measure. And not only is he one of the most superb actors around, but generous, thoughtful, beyond belief. So he's right to be honored day and night.
Oh, what parts did you do in Measure for Measure?
I played Angelo and he played the Duke.
Oh, perfect. Good. I want to talk.
It's been so long ago. I was like, wait, are those the characters? I think they are.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I just saw.
Sanaa Lathan was in it as well. Yeah, we had a great cast.
No, I just saw it, and it's my least favorite Shakespeare play. It's so nasty.
So hard. It's such a hard, but I really liked it. I mean, the play that I'm working on right now is Henrik Ibsen's Ghosts, and it's another really hard play. Again, it's a polemic like Measure for Measure is, and tries to understand power structures, societal norms, that sort of thing. But it's written in such a superb way that there's more in there. You just don't always know how to crack it. And both plays are typically unsatisfying for the audience. So you have to, because they're provocations and they don't end well. And the heroes fail you and villains rise. So there's fascinating work to do in those kinds of plays, but they're very hard to accomplish in a way that's satisfying for the audience.
That's what I was wondering about, because I mean, we have to suffer through it, but how does an actor do these difficult roles? I mean, Angelo is he's so nasty and icky, and yet you got to make him so we want to pay attention to him.
Well, you make the exact right point, and I suppose there are actors who really like playing the villain. They relish being able to manipulate people and gain power or privilege, whatever it is that a villain is doing, or destroying things. But the way that I approach acting is that I try to understand why somebody is thinking and behaving the way that they are. And when you start doing that with really nasty characters, it can get you into kind of a bad headspace. And so the way that I played both Angelo and Pastor Manders is try to keep my crucial try to keep my mind on the crucial thought that they're doing good, that their reason for instituting God's laws as they see it is for the betterment of humanity. And it's really hard when they start doing things that are really shady.
Yeah, it's so much easier to play a villain when they're a gleeful villain.
Exactly.
A villain with a sense of humor. Now, that's a villain I can get behind.
I couldn't agree more.
Scott Siegel is back with his wonderfully eclectic Broadway by the Seasons, featuring some of the most talented performers around. He always adds bits of information pertaining to those years and the famous people who were born at those times, so we get great American classics and surprising information. This time he featured shows and songs from 1934-35 in the first act and 1946-47 in the second act. As always, the singing was top-notch under Ross Patterson's adept musical direction. You can't miss at a Scott Siegel show that's been going on now for 25 years. Happy Faith. That's closed, but The next Broadway by the season will be Monday, April 21st at 7:30 p.m. at Merkin Hall at Kaufman Music Center, showcasing 1957-58 and 1963-64, which is The Music Man, West Side Story, Oliver, 110 in the Shade, and many more.
Chris Davis's The 40-Year-Old Ballerino is a celebration of an important life decision, an ode to his new life. Needing to fill the gaping hole in his life after giving up his time-consuming addiction, Mr. Davis decides to register for a local dance class, a ballet class. Having been in a long-term, quite serious relationship with a ballerina, he knew just what he was in for. In fact, she had just broken up with him and moved to Japan, so he was on his own with his new endeavor. Immediately, he surprised himself when he discovered that he loved it so much, and he could go to class every night. And that he did. Through delightful storytelling of his adventures as a ballerino, the talented Mr. Davis graciously charms his audience. He reveals many of his most intimate thoughts and experiences of his new life. And he does so while ballet dancing with only a barre as his prop. An overture of complimentary music sets the mood as one might expect at a ballet. The only technical item I'd like to comment on is that Mr. Davis might consider the volume of that music when it opens the show, and then he has some dialogue, and it made it a bit difficult to hear. But it did not really hamper the overall creativity of his sharing. The 40-Year-Old Ballerina is one of many offerings here at this year's New York City Fringe Festival. It was such an entertaining solo show, a real treat to see. So I'm giving it a happy face.
This is Tony Marinelli's review of the New York City Fringe, The End of All Flesh, and mine will be on the Facebook page, and his long, brilliant review will be on the Facebook page too. So this is just a short version. Amid the rising tide of climate despair and government inertia, Greg Codis's The End of All Flesh emerges as a singular theatrical tonic, an absurd, incisive, and oddly cathartic bluegrass musical set in a scorched post-apocalyptic America where there is no electricity and they are back to square one that is not too far removed from our own looming reality. This sharp-wit Flesh stands out not only for its musicality and humor, but for its self-awareness and intellectual bite. The dynamic among the family, Pa, crumbling patriarchal bravado, Ma, the smartest person in the room despite pretending otherwise. Their son, Boy, brings an earnest sweetness to the table. He dreams of gender equality. Girl, his ruggedly competent, romantically inconvenient beloved, unfolds with humor and philosophical weight. Clever, cautionary, and deeply human beneath its satire, The End of All Flesh is not just a fringe standout, it's essential viewing for anyone trying to laugh through the smoke. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Genesis 6:13. Major happy face.
And here's Jan Ewing's review of Humpty Dumpty. Although written 20 years ago, Eric Bogosian's Humpty Dumpty is as up-to-date as yesterday. Humor and wit examine a subject we ignore at our peril. What will happen when the grid goes off? When the technical magic that dominates our lives vanishes? Once Humpty falls, he can't be put back together again. And right now, with elected officials deliberately corrupting our democratic institutions, we need to remember that. Two couples, supposedly on vacation, rent a remote house in the woods. Max is an established author planning to finish his great American novel. His wife, Nicole, is a high-powered book editor, working even as she walks through the door. And Spoon and Troy are planning a romantic episode. Spoon is, at any rate. Troy has his own agenda, which adds a dark, edgy element to the narrative. In spite of being on vacation, they're all working on something. Then suddenly the power goes off. A vast area plunges into darkness. Everything is gone. Computers, phones, lights, television, and radio. Their only connection to the outside world is Nat, the house's caretaker. What the King's Men do after Humpty's fall is well worth a trip to the Chain Theater, where this fine play is running through May the 3rd. It's well written and intelligent with humorous, clever dialogue discussing a catastrophe that just might happen at any minute. Makes one think, doesn't it? Jan is giving it a happy face.
Rosie Corsi's Breezy Point, as part of the Origin Theatre Company's first Irish festival, has an estranged daughter going to clear out her recently deceased father's house and making a surprising discovery. Siobhan discovers Ray the Fae, the nastier side of fairies that likes to steal and eat babies. She was after Siobhan's dad since he was born. Since Siobhan spares no feelings towards her deadbeat dad, who she never knew, she has no trouble giving Ray the ashes. But first, they go on a quest with Ray's help to discover if her dad even thought about her at all. Will this unholy alliance ever get to the truth? Jasmine Johnson and Noel Corey Brown act as sprightly narrators and various people in the story. They go in and out of accents and costumes with great agility. Madeline Bone, for an avaricious fairy, was rather endearing, and Hannah Victoria Collins as Siobhan was heartbreaking, but put up a good front. Breezy Point is worth visiting. Happy face.
At Theatre for a New Audience, you could see The Swamp Dwellers, written by Wole Soyinka. It's the late 50s, before Nigerian independence. Makuri and Alu are a mature couple living in a hut in a village in the swamps of the Niger Delta. They're expecting the return of their adult son, Iguesu, who left for the city 8 months ago. Before he arrives, a beggar from up north comes to their hut. He has followed the river to its end at their place. He feels that now that the flooding is over, the land will be good again for farming. The social and religious head of the village, the Kadiye, also stops by with his attendant and a drummer. Now that the flooding is over, he can wash again and get shaved. Makuri is a barber and has a great barber swivel chair. The Kadiya wants to come back later to be shaved by Iguesu. When Iguesu returns, he is angry and bitter. He has lost all his crops in the floods and has not prospered in the city. He brings news about his twin brother from the city, and the extent and reasons for his bitterness become clearer. The play gives a vivid sense of village life and feelings about the city during the late 1950s. It is extremely well acted and directed, and the characters are all quite vivid. Happy face.
And I was able to go to a last call press conference, which was a show about the meeting of Lenny Bernstein, played by Helen Schneider, and Herbert von Karajan, played by Luca Zuckner, and directed by Gil Memert. And I got interviews with all of them and a scene from it. So don't miss this. It looks very intriguing.
Here we are with,
Hi, I'm Helen Schneider.
and you are playing
Leonard Bernstein. He's been part of my life since I was a little girl, with the young people's concerts, and brought classical music in a very accessible way to all of us, and blew away the mystery. And I was a very serious studying classical pianist, so Leonard meant a great deal to me on that count. And I think the most wonderful part of accessing him for me, a great moment was, when you start to want to embody someone that was an idol for you, you bump into situations that for me were very reminiscent of finding out maybe who your parents really were. And so, you find out, well, they're not really idols. They're humans, with foibles, with problems, making mistakes, saying ridiculous things. And so I went through this passage of realizing all of that, and then coming back out the other side and hoping that I have found some way to capture at least an idea of what kind of soul this remarkable man had.
Hello, here we are with,
Luca Züchner,
and you are playing
Herbert von Karajan. Herbert von Karajan is was a very, very, very well-known conductor from Salzburg in Austria. And he was the chief conductor for 35 years from at the Berlin Philharmonics. So we grew up with him being one of the most well-known artists for classical music. I totally love interpreting him because while getting to know him over the time preparing for this part, I really fell in love with this person because I understood more why he was the way he was, and so I am thrilled to embody this person in my way.
What tickled you most about what you learned from him? You're like, oh my gosh, it's like a light bulb moment. Like, now I got the character because he's like this.
Yeah. It's his way of living Zen Buddhism. It's crazy. He was a Zen Buddhist, and I really hope to bring to the people that part of Herbert von Karajan.
Hello, here we are with
Gil Mehmet. I'm the director of The Last Call. For me, it was great to get a play about Karajan and Bernstein because both are part of my cultural education. I always adored Bernstein for this bringing classical music and jazz music together. And in Germany, people always separate between serious music and entertainment music. And when I was young, I liked it so much how he talked about that. And Karajan, of course, was a big idol of classical music, and they're very different. And just to bring in a play these two views together, how they look to music and to history and to politics, I liked it very much. And I thought it's playing in the end of the 80s, but perhaps it has a lot to do with our present. Yes, what we tried to make this meeting between the bows a little bit bigger is to use the music to bring this behind their souls and to support and emphasize their universal.
Seriously, must every conversation end with a lecture? What's wrong with my parlor? It would take hours to even scratch the surface. Careful, Norwich. You are touching on my most sensitive area. Your ego, my Marla. Are you kidding? I just gave you the greatest compliment, and you attack of all things, my Marla. Marla's music is so full of dangerous attacks, and one which many fall into is over-sensualizing until it becomes sort of kitsch.
I really hate making generalizations, but your interpretation of Mahler is, shall we say, highly idiosyncratic. In my opinion, overly idiosyncratic. So much so as to make it practically unlistenable to all but the most musically adventurous audience. Do you follow? You perfectly. I once told a reporter that you are guilty of what I despise as falsifying documents. I do not understand why you ignore the composer's own instruction in favor of your own idea. What concerns me most is in the as correct a rendition of the notes as possible. That I would. You wish to be a photographer rather than a painter. You really capture the essence rather than create something fresh, something new. You are missing my point.
Matthew Lombardo's Conversations with Mother are a series of phone calls where Bobby inevitably gets into trouble with hanging out with the wrong people who always get off while Bobby gets the brunt of the punishment. Mother, a warm Italian woman constantly in the kitchen, loves her gay son dearly, but really has to struggle not to get mad as Bobby tells her his troubles in Rising Inclements. We get this wonderful picture of the deep bond between them, and even though we never meet the father or Bobby's boyfriend, we can vividly see them in our mind's eye due to the stellar acting of Carolyn Aaron and Matt Doyle. This is one of those wonderful, funny, poignant plays that I am so fond of. Happy Face Plus.
I love Conversations with Mother too. It's not one of these plays that's going to change the world in any way, or it's just there for fun and entertainment, and it succeeds with that. But having the two performances, Caroline Aaron, who plays Maria, the mother, and Matt Doyle, who's just perfection to this. He has to age from being a child. He starts out being a child up until a middle-aged man, and he is just wonderful. And the two of them together, they just elevate the play. So happy face plus for me too.
And here we are with Bruno Giraldi, who's got this wonderful cabaret going on at Don't Tell Mamas called Love or Death.
Thank you, Eva, for giving me this space to invite everyone to come to Love or Death. I didn't feel like doing, songs and something shallow. So I wanted to do this in a man who's really suffering because he doesn't know what love and death is. I am that man, and well, in the middle of that, to make it a little bit more appealing, I included the songs which were from the start, but but they also changed and also adapted more to what the show is today.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. You have April 19th. To go see this at Don't Tell Mamas. Don't miss the opportunity. Thank you. Yay.
Thank you.
From Rattlestick Theater in New George's, at Here, we get Emma Horowitz and Bailey Williams, two sisters find a box of lesbian erotica in the woods, which is a delightful hodgepodge of innuendo, goofiness, sci-fi, and spy stories. Before it even starts, Normandy Sherwood's set and props will have you screaming with laughter. You don't have to be a lesbian to enjoy this irreverently sexy, ever-changing play written and acted with an unfiltered abandon by Emma Horowitz and Bailey Williams. The less I tell you, the better for you to also discover a box of lesbian erotica in the woods. Major happy face.
At St. Anne's Warehouse, you could see the Dharma Warehouse production of The Cherry Orchard, written, of course, by Anton Chekhov, but in a terrible new version written and directed miserably by Benedict Andrews. In Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard, impoverished aristocrat Lyubov Ranievskaya returns to her family estate in the Russian provinces after living many years in Paris. She is accompanied by her teenage daughter Anya and Anya's strange governess Charlotta. Local self-made rich merchant Lopatkin tries to convince Lyubov that only by selling off much of the estate, including her beloved cherry orchard, can she achieve financial solvency. All Lyubov's happy family memories are connected to the estate, especially the cherry orchard. Lyubov is too involved with her memories to accept the reality of the necessary sale. Many of the other characters are isolated in their own personal obsessions. Trofimov, the eternal student who is the tutor of Lyubov's son, often espouses the need for a happy anti-capitalist future. Charlotta is uncertain of her identity because she knows nothing about her biological parents. Varya, Lyubov's adopted daughter who has overseen the estate, feels only God can help save the estate. I had a lot of trouble understanding the performances. They seem to be mumbling in a heavy Australian accent, God knows why. The new version by Benedict Andrews seems overly contemporary and rather unpleasantly nasty. There's also a good deal of unnecessary music. I did like Nina Haas as Lyubov and Sadie Soberall as Anya. Their emotions rang true for me, and they absolutely seemed to be mother and daughter. I also found recruiting someone from the audience was very anti-Chekhovian, breaking the fourth wall, and total pandering. I liked the Chekhov play very much, but I didn't care much for this production. I gave it mixed faces, and thinking about it, it seems to sink even lower, maybe mixed faces minus.
Clang the alarms. Mark and I agree.
Yay! I thought you liked it.
That's just it. I did like the first act. I was very excited because they didn't have any music in the first act. Not constantly. And,
Mhm.
and I did have trouble understanding. So I got us both listening devices.
Which
But what
helped a
good is
bit.
listening devices when you have this horrible music droning on, just like in Streetcar with the stupid drums. Here they have horrible bad music that makes you want to like jump out of your skin and just like it was
Kill
so
the musicians.
it was so distracting. I bloody hated it. And yes, and in the first act, that's when we got the mother and the daughter, something when the student comes in and triggers the dead child. I mean, I was in tears, and the daughter ended up next to me, and she was crying because she was such a great actress. I mean, I had my tissues out. I gave her one of my tissues because I was like, I forgot almost that she was just a character. I just believed her so much and felt so bad for her. And during intermission, she came up to me and said, "Thank you. That was a very beautiful thing you did." And it was very touching. And then the second act came and it just all fell apart. And I was just so disappointed. And I wish I could have stayed for the talk back more because they explained why they chose people from the audience and stuff. And knowing Don Mayer Warehouse, it kind of makes sense, but I didn't like it either. I just want to say my favorite character in the Cherry Orchard is Fierce. Carl Johnson. He's the old servant. And the way he keeps doddering about and worrying about, wear a sweater, you're going to catch cold. And oh my God, he's like walking death. And it was just, he's a whole metaphor of the Cherry Orchard. I just adore him. So that he was there to good first. So I'm giving a mixed face too. I'm giving a happy for the first act and sad, very, very, very sad for the second act. And it's a shame. Now for theater listings, and our next show is May 3rd, closing April 27th, and this will all be on the Facebook page. Becoming Eve at New York Theater Workshop, Damn Scottish Play in Stride at BAM, Minority Cult Cur WP Theater, and at Theater for the New City, you have Lisa Mora directing Roberto Monticello's Cafe Resistance and Mara Burkhan's The Road Ahead. At the Tank is Astronauts Wanted. Closing May 4th is Last Call at New World Stations, Hold Me in the Water with Ryan Haddad at Playwrights Horizon, and J2 Spotlight is doing Smile to April 20th, Zorba to May 4th, and 59 is 59th Street has Fish Ambles, Fight Night and Into Minds till April 20th, and Origins Irish First Festival is going on till April 28th. Have a lovely spring if it ever gets warm.